Hello, Miraculously Awesome Squad, aka MLB fam. We are going to be talking about the episode Daddycop. But before we get into all of that, please hit that awesome like, that awesome subscribe. Please comment. I love comments and share this video. So in this video today, we're going to be talking about Daddycop, and this episode is really a sad episode for Sabrina. Like, we see a lot of sad moments when it came down to her, to the point where you really just feel so bad for her. This is after the fact of season 5, when Chloe moved to London, and Sabrina is still sad, even though Chloe is really a toxic friend to Sabrina. So the thing is, Sabrina is really missing Chloe, even though Chloe was getting Sabrina into some really bad situations. And so Sabrina is learning to move on, and while moving on, she is going to school and she ends up being alone, and she sees Marinette and her friend, which is Alia, Kagami, and the rest of them, and she is definitely feeling left out. Now, on the one hand, I understand why they didn't really actually gather around Sabrina, because she was helping Chloe do all those bad things. But on the other hand, which was weird, is that Sabrina did help Marinette in actually exposing Lila and Chloe at the same time. So I kind of still don't understand why they're so standoffish towards Sabrina. Because in actuality, I think Sabrina definitely is still a good person, and she's even called Chloe out on the bad things that she was doing. Even though she was helping Chloe along, I still think in the end she did realize that what she was doing was wrong. It's just like Natalie when she was helping Gabriel. In the end, Natalie actually started standing up to Gabriel and telling him that the things he was doing was wrong. And I just think that Sabrina actually got fed up with it, which is why she worked together with Marinette, so that Marinette and her could expose Lila and Chloe. Also in this episode, we have Adrianette, and they are celebrating their 100th kiss. Now, I'm not against you celebrating that, but at the same time, it's like, what are you gonna do if it's like your 1000th kiss? Like, at a certain point, you're not gonna be celebrating that, and you're just gonna celebrate, I feel like, being together. It kind of is an odd celebration, like, I get it, but also, too, this episode is trying to make it seem like Adrian is her first real relationship. And I know that this episode is not based off of Luca Net from the past, but Luca Net did happen. And we do need to acknowledge it. And it was kind of weird that the episode kind of skipped over that. Like, they didn't even reference Luca, which I found kind of odd, even though I know they're not together, but still kind of felt a little disrespectful. But going back to AJ and Net, they're celebrating their first kind of, I guess, milestone in the relationship, and it is really cute. And while doing so, she kind of is like pushing Adrian away, because Adrian keeps wanting to kiss Marinette on the mouth the way a boyfriend should, but at the same time, it's only their 99th kiss at the time, and she has this big thing planned with fireworks and just trying to decorate her house with all these decorations to celebrate this big milestone. But she also forgets that she plans a movie night with her friends. So it definitely complicates the whole thing, because the friends want to, hang out with Marinette, and then Marinette is still trying to get Adrian to come over with the girl group. And of course, Adrian is just like, no, I don't want to do that. I don't want to be over there with a whole bunch of girls, as he shouldn't. I mean, it is kind of, I feel like, out of place for him to be with a whole bunch of girls. Just like it was kind of different when Marinette snuck into his party to be with a whole bunch of boys, even though she knew it was a boys' party. But the thing is, she was doing that literally just to spy on him and basically just stalk him. But in this case, he's like, no, I'm good. Hang out with your friends. And he's just like, I'm not coming. And just explain to me why a part of like my heart dropped when he said that. Like, the foreshadowing of Adrianette's breakup in this episode is crazy to me. Like, I know it's a small foreshadow, but to me, it feels like it was something actually big, in my opinion. So while all of this is going on, we have Zoe, and she sees Sabrina like sitting by herself, and Zoe, being the awesome friend hero to save the day that she is going over there and actually acknowledging Sabrina. And I think it's kind of odd still that the friend group sees Sabrina by herself and they're really just like done with Sabrina. It's really odd to see that considering the fact that I feel like in season 5 they would never. Like I feel like in season 5 they would actually like have invited Sabrina into the group even after all of that. So once again, this episode is really kind of odd to me and why everybody is just really like shunning Sabrina, especially after Chloe left Paris. I feel like this is actually kind of different from their personalities because I feel like they would invite Sabrina to the group. Like it wouldn't have actually been a problem. And so in doing so, the fact is that Marinette ends up, having this party and inviting her friends over still. And while inviting the friends over, she's like, I'm going to bring this special guest. And she's wanting the special guest to be Adrian because she's still set in her mind that Adrian, for whatever reason, is coming to this all-girls party. But then Zoe ends up inviting Sabrina to the party. And Zoe thinks that Marinette is talking about Sabrina. And we all know that it wasn't Sabrina, she was talking about Adrian. So when Marinette opens the door, thinking that it's Adrian, she's like, yes, he finally made it, and opens the door and sees Sabrina. She's just like, oh, what are you doing here, basically? And Sabrina's like, I'm here, to join the party. And she was like, I didn't invite you. And of course, Sabrina ends up feeling really bad because she was already lonely and the friend group didn't acknowledge her. And Sabrina is like, yeah, I'm just here to come, join the friend group in the party. I got invited. And she was like, I didn't invite you. Marinette was. And she was like, there's no other way for me to be here. And Marinette's just like, no. Like, basically, in a way, telling her to leave. And honestly, this is what makes me really upset with, the way they made Marinette's character. Because I honestly just don't feel like Marinette would have just turned her bluntly away like this. Like, I was like, are you serious right now, Miraculous? Are you trying to tell me that Marinette would turn her away knowing that there's a new version of Hawkmoth out here? Like, somebody else has the Moth Miraculous. Marinette, I feel like, would have been smarter than that in should have been smarter, I feel like, in this new season, to the point where she would know that if she turns her away, that there could be a possible akumatization in this situation. But no, let's just make Marinette turn her away. I feel like just solely for the drama of this episode and to basically just make us feel like Sabrina is definitely being shunned by everyone, just for that sole fact. Because I feel like Marinette wouldn't have done that. Then Zoe realizes what happens because at first it was going to be Sabrina that gets akumatized, and Sabrina breaks the akumatization power and is like, no, I don't want your akuma. Then the akuma goes to Roger, which is Sabrina's dad, and he ends up getting akumatized into Daddycop because he wants everybody to see his daughter how everyone else sees his daughter. Like, he wants everybody to see his daughter the same way that he sees her. And so he does end up getting akumatized, and Cerise, Crystallis does her thing. And it's just really sad because, Sabrina's holding all this stuff in. And so you kind of understand why he is being this protective parent, because he wants his daughter to have friends. So he ends up shooting these things out of his arm. Basically, it is going back and giving us Roger Cop. I mean, it definitely is very similar. And so he's shooting these things out of his arms, which is forcing everyone to love his daughter the way he loves her. And it definitely is just horrible. But the weird thing is we get this little scene of them all being love zombies almost, and trying to chase her. And then we kind of don't see them anymore. So they're all just kind of standing in one place. Usually I feel like when we watch Miraculous episode, you still see the victims kind of everywhere all over Paris. And it wasn't really that spread out, in my opinion. It was very short-lived when we saw the victims running around Paris, and causing chaos. But I guess they were just solely focusing on Sabrina and the aspect of what she was going through. And so Sabrina is in fact trying to give her miraculous back to Ladybug because she doesn't even feel like she's worthy of her miraculous. Like she's feeling that bad about herself. And Ladybug is like, no, keep the miraculous and make the miraculous be adjusted to who you think you are and how great you think you are. So what's really cool is she does get to adjust her miraculous and make her transformation look different to how she feels, like her confidence, and make her basically feel comfortable in the skin that she's in. And I think that's a really nice thing for Miraculous to do. Also, Cat Noir was in this episode, but I'm kind of getting a little frustrated by the fact that he keeps getting hit by these anti-Kumas. Like, I'm noticing a pattern. Anytime they're trying to fight in battle, like Ladybug is perfectly fine. Meanwhile, he's always getting hit by this anti-Kuma. And I am not okay. Like, him being like hit by the villain's power or whatever, that's one thing. But him keep getting hit by these mega kumas is another thing, and it's just like, can you please stop letting him get hit with mega kumas to the point where he can't even use his powers anymore? It's kind of just a bit aggravating to me, but maybe that's just my opinion. I also do love the fact that we do get Cosmo Bug and Astro Cat in this episode. I think it's really interesting, and we actually did get an appearance from Pegasus because Sabrina, aka Lady Hound, actually asks for Pegasus's help because now we have it where the heroes can call anyone they want, like to fight alongside them. So that is very interesting, and it is interesting how she called Pegasus because she needed his power of voyage. So in the end, of course, the heroes do what they do best, and they end up saving the day, and they end up helping, Roger Cop, and then Ladybug does end up giving Roger Cop a charm to make sure that he doesn't end up getting akumatized, like not as much or less, like she's given other people who have been akumatization victims. Once again, though, I feel like him being a villain, he didn't really cause a lot of destruction to Paris. Usually we would see a lot more damage to Paris, and I'm noticing with some of these villains, they're not as destructive. Like when Hawkmoth would akumatize villains, we saw a lot more, like breaking the Eiffel Tower and everything. Like they were so destructive. When Cerise like akumatizes her victims, they're not as destructive, I'm noticing. I don't know if it's just because she's different obviously than Hawkmoth, but her villains are not like as destructive. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but like, I don't know, they just don't seem as bad as when Hawkmoth was akumatizing people, even though her powers are a bit more advanced. Like I'm noticing a little bit of a pattern. So in the end, we do have Adrianette, and they did have their 100th kiss because Marinette was just trying to be so almost over the top, like with the fireworks, and it has to be perfect, and everything just has to be put in place. She just realized finally at the end that it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be a perfect moment. So she ends up kissing Adrian, and it was their 100th, and then Adrian ends up kissing her, which ends up making it their 101. And I think that that is so adorable, and I think it is so sweet that the way they ended that they did end up having a kiss, and they did end up noticing that they don't have to be perfect all the time. I think it's all about communication, and if they learn how to communicate better, which I think they are, I think the relationship will be fine, even though there is still going to be a breakup between Adrianette. I can just see it, and I can just tell. So it's going to be sad, but it's going to happen, you guys. Also, this episode had a lot of foreshadowing with Zoe. Zoe, they're saying, has some sort of horrible past, and I thought that we already kind of covered that in past seasons, but for some reason we're kind of reopening this situation back up, and it's like, what could she have done that was so bad? Because the thing was, she was already acting like Chloe. Chloe was kind of like snooty and kind of bratty, and she was acting like Chloe already. So it's just like, we already know that she kind of had a past of acting a certain way, of not wanting to act how she wanted to act. Like she couldn't act like herself. She felt like she had to become somebody else. So I feel like I don't know how much more we're going to kind of do with this story, but they're deciding to try and add some, I guess, something new in there. So we'll just have to wait and see to find out what is Zoe's dark past and what is she hiding that she doesn't want her friends to see. Because in my opinion, I'm like, why hasn't she already basically told them what she did? Because whatever it is, I feel like it's something that she feels like the friends would see her differently. And it's like, I don't know. Seems like when she first came to the group, she already was like acting a certain way. So I don't know what it could possibly be that is so damaging. But I guess they'll let us know and we'll just have to find out. Guys, let me know what you guys think about the episode Daddycop. What was your favorite part? What you liked and what you disliked? Let me know in the comments below. And what episode would you guys like to see next? Thank you so much for watching. And always remember, MLB fam, have a miraculously awesome day.